Hey guys, welcome to Cheap Old Cars and Corners. I need some help from you guys today. I'm gonna have a few questions. I want you to tell me your answers in the comments.
Say it with me, for we walk by faith, not by sight.
I've kind of got this car mostly how I want it. The other, I've got 4 of these Mustangs. This car they're both dirty from pollen. The pollen's crazy right now. I'm sure you guys are dealing with that too. This car is mostly how I want it. We got 01 Cobra front springs with a half coil cut, Mach 1 rear springs. I do want to get some staggered wheels for it. On the Mach 1, I like the stance it has. I'll put the picture here. I'm not going to change its stance or really anything performance-wise on it. I do need to do some exhaust work with my new welder that I got. But that car is kind of stay as is. I just need to maintain it. The green Bullitt will get more things in time. Like it has wheels and it has the Cobra front bumper, the 01 Cobra front bumper and a Mach 1 hood. And that looks cool, right? But it'll get more stuff eventually. It'll probably get some parts that I end up taking off of this one. But this car right here, this is what I need your help with. I kind of have a general plan. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing trying to make a car that's like handling street car, but not autocross or road course. Now, obviously, if you make a car really good on the street, it'll do okay on the autocross and pretty good on the road course if your brakes are up to snuff and all the things. But I need some assistance. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what I should do to this car given, what I already have in it. So right now I have the Maximum Motorsports tubular control arms, not the offset control arms, because if I go to the K-member, which is something I maybe should do, you guys tell me, is the K-member worth it? You can obviously get the parts easier, but you guys tell me, is that worth it? Obviously, but if I go to that K-member, it's going to move my wheels 3/4 of an inch forward. And I didn't want the offset control arms because that'll move them another 3/4 of an inch forward. So then you're 1.5 inches forward. Yes, they say, hey, it's not that bad. You just, trim a little bit at your bumper lid stuff. Like you get into your fender wells, you get into your washer fluid tank and stuff. That's a little more than I want to do. I want the car to stay very reasonable for street driving, but handle well, okay? Should I upgrade the brakes? I mean, the Bullets already have the Cobra brakes. So kind of what I'm thinking is stainless steel braided lines and Hawk pads, Hawk street, street compound pad. But, if you guys think, hey, those Brembo ATS, Cadillac ATS brakes with the Taurus brakes in the rear, if that's the way to go, tell me. Personally, I know you can only stop as well as your tires can grip, and I think the Cobra brakes have plenty. But, you want your car to look good too. And really, I think the ATS brakes are just kind of a looks thing, but yeah, you guys tell me. I'm curious what your opinions on that are. Should I do the brakes? K-member. Should I do a K-member? Okay. So should I do a front strut tower brace? Because that's something I'm kind of thinking about as well. I am doing the welded subframe connectors. They're right here. But yeah, that's going to happen. So is a strut tower brace worth it with welded subframe connectors? I don't know. I've never done it before. Let's get back to what I'm wanting to do with the car. I want this car to be able to really twisty road, not a ton of straights, right? Obviously, this has less power than a C5 Corvette. So a moderately well maintained setup C5 Corvette, base C5. Even a Z06, because if there's not a lot of straights, there's not a lot of chance to use the extra power and the better gearing that the C5 Z06 has. Fairly curvy road, like pretty tight and twisty road, and fairly competent driver in a C5 that's set up well, decent tires. I want this thing to be able to run with them fairly easily and confidently. Obviously, that car has 350, 45 horsepower, 345, whatever it is. And so this car only has 265 horsepower. I'm going to have a little bit of an advantage I'm going to have 373 gears. A manual Vet is going to have 342s most likely. They obviously have different gearing in the transmission and probably better. But that's kind of the goal for this car. Not in terms of power, but in terms of kind of everything else, be pretty comparable to a C5 Vet. That's the goal. I was thinking about it a lot over the last week of like, what do I want out of this car? What is it that I'm after? A C5 Vet. If I can make this do similar on-road, back roads to a C5, I'm going to be pretty happy with it. That's what I want. What do I need to do to it? Okay, we talked about K-member. We talked about the welded subframe connectors that I'm doing. We talked about bigger brakes, which I don't think is necessary because I have Cobra brakes and I think pads would be fine. Strut tower brace. Rear shock tower brace. So I'm going to the IRS, which I might put it up on the screen here, but right over there in the corner is my Cobra IRS. It's a 01. It already had about half the bushings in it. Now the O1s have a 31 spine axle, same as the 0304, but the 0304 or the CV shafts, they were stronger on those. I'm not a drag racer, or I'm not going to launch this car really at all, probably maybe once or twice ever, right? Like I don't launch. Back road stuff, that'll be perfectly fine. People talk about the IRS diff overheating and stuff, but like that's road course. Out on the back road, I'm going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I don't have the IRS differential cover, the Ford Racing differential cover, which I know is quite a bit stronger and people have cracked the factory one. But the IRS does have the Maximum Motorsports crossbar in the front. It has Delrin bushings on the front of the differential and the back of the differential, but they're the stock style bushings. And then all other bushings on it have been replaced with Prothane. Now the Prothane thing, hear me out. Energy suspension, the black polyurethane, is about double the hardness of the factory rubber. The Prothane red polyurethane is triple the hardness of the factory rubber. And the Delrin stuff, which is obviously everyone says Delrin's the best, it's like 4 times the hardness of the factory rubber. But Delrin is only 33% stiffer than the energy suspension red bushings, okay? About 33%. But it's about 300% more cost. Trying to keep cheap old cars here, right? I'm already doing an IRS, which is not cheap. So the energy suspension red bushings to me is like, that's where I'm going to go with, because it's a good value for the money. Maybe it's not the ultimate that you could get, but I'm not taking it on a road course or an autocross. So the polyurethane will be a little harder to keep from squeaking. I understand that. I'm using copious amounts of grease, but I am doing the coilovers in the rear. So all that I said, just to get back to the fact that, hey, I'm doing coilovers in the rear. The front is kind of okay with taking coilovers, right? Because the strut towers are kind of strong. They were meant to take the McPherson strut set up to where the strut is actually like the upper control arm. So it's like not as bad in the front, but the rears, those little shock towers were not meant to have the springs and the weight of the car sitting on them. I've seen some pretty crazy worst case scenarios where the strut or the shock towers in the rear actually rip away from the car. Not a good thing, not something we want. Obviously the Maximum Motorsports kit comes with a little dome Delrin piece that spreads the load out a little bit, but should I do a rear shock tower brace? I know that the spring, the weight is pushed up on the car, and a shock tower brace is across, and so like that doesn't do much. But I was looking at the Kenny Brown one, which is a bar across and then like a triangulated, and it comes down to the floor. Now, okay, where it meets the floor and you can bolt it through there, you're bolting the sheet metal, and even if you get up under there and brace it on the underside, really you'd need to do some welding and some attaching in to make this thing more sturdy. But then again, it's deflecting this way forces when the forces are applied this way. One thing that it can do is stop this from happening, right? So like I said, it's deflecting sideways instead of up and down. But if stuff tries to bend in any, I don't know that it would. I don't know. But if, let's say, the forces on the strut are up, let's say the car is trying to bend in, that bar across there would stop that. I don't know if it's worth it. Again, you guys tell me. Guys that have done this before and know more than I do, you tell me. Now, is the solution for the rear really do like at least a 4-point cage and then tie in the top of the shock mounts for like cups there, and then off, like a little cup that sticks up that you can still get to the bolt, but then have a bar that comes off of that up to your cage? Is that the solution? I don't know. Should I change the mirrors? Because part of it is looks. I want the car to look nice as well. It's very dirty right now. I understand that. Cobra mirrors I love, but they're just too dadgum expensive. I was a pricing analyst in my former life, and this is cheap old cars, and spending almost $1,000 on a set of mirrors doesn't make much sense to me. The staggered wheels on a handling car is not the way to go. Like, I know that on one of these Mustangs in particular, a set of tires that are slightly narrower than your fronts on all 4 corners would probably handle better in terms of like lap time than a staggered set. I've seen that happen before. So yeah, like you guys, you tell me, should I find a set of wheels that's like 9 inches all the way around or 10 inch all the way around? If I go 10 inch in the front, it's going to have to poke out a little bit more because this is already really close to my spring on my coilover. So can't really go much, can't really add more on the inside. They have to come out. Then that's going to throw more stuff up the side of the car. Everything's a trade-off. Everything's a trade-off. So what should I do there, guys? Should I leave the staggered thing because, hey, it looks good and I'm giving up a little bit of my overall handling ability, but knowing that I'm not pushing the car to its max? Is that a trade-off I should make? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. You tell me, what do you think? Now, another thing I want to do is I want to get the car a little bit lighter. I'm going to swap my hat. Hey, guys, you can buy these hats. I'll add the ad into the video. Bam. Put the blue one there. Pop the black one on. Man, these things are comfortable. My goodness, they're comfy. And no bending of the bill. I haven't done this. It's just how it comes, which is about perfect. I like it. I used to go way bent, and then I went for a while. I was doing the flat brim thing, and I like this. This is good. So, yeah, got the Corbeau seats, which took weight off because the factory driver's seat is very heavy with all the motors and stuff under it. These seats, I don't remember. I want to say it was about 35, 40 pounds total weight loss by going to these seats. And I've knocked about 20 off the front, 30 something there. So adding the IRS really only changes the weight of the car 40 pounds up-ish, not bad. I maybe would like to get it lower in weight. What should I do there? You guys tell me, because I'm thinking like a carbon fiber hood would be pretty cool. Is there anything else that I could do to weight loss on the car? I think that jet was doing VFR under the clouds. I love that though. They're F-35s. Is there anything else that you guys can think of that I can do for weight loss that's like worthwhile? It would be really awesome to have this thing down around 3,100 pounds, maybe 32. Now there's another thing there that, kind of coming back to something that, the weight and then coming back to the wheels a bit. I could go to some 17x9s and shed 7-8 pounds off of each corner of the car. So I could shed, let's say 30 pounds off the car, have a little bit more sidewall for better ride quality, and then just run the 275/40. That's something I've been thinking about because those RFP1 wheels, they make them for this car in 17x9, and they're like 17 pounds a piece, whereas these are like 27 pounds a piece. So actually, I'd be taking off 40 pounds off the car by going to those wheels and tires. That might be worth it. That might be worth it. I've never really run lightweight wheels. I've seen some videos. Some guys say it's worth it. Some say it's not. What do you guys think? I'm asking you lots of questions in this one. Something that I want to do. Let me know what you guys think. I'm super curious where you would go next with this car. Mainly for handling. I'm not really a horsepower guy. I really like how stock things last a long time. In terms of engines. Now, I would like to do more stuff. When I start looking at a supercharger for this car, I'm just like, well, that's like 50, 60 pounds right up on the nose that I don't want to do. An LS swap, I would really prefer an aluminum block. That does entice me some. I know that would be somewhat expensive and not as easy to do as everyone is like, just LS swap it. Like, I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but that is interesting because the LS engine, just based on it not being an overhead cam engine, it's an overhead valve, so the cam's inside the motor. That is a lower center of gravity, right? And the heads are smaller, so the more the weight is down low. The aluminum LS1's lighter than this iron 2 valve. And so, I don't even know if I could find an LS1 anymore, but let's say a stock-ish LS1-ish motor, okay? Aluminum block, 350, 370, somewhere in there, horsepower flywheel. Not at the wheels, flywheel. So around 290, 300 wheel will be fine. That's enticing to me because that takes weight off the nose, lowers my center of gravity, and in my head makes the car better at what I want it to do. And so adding a boost to a 2-valve, obviously you can get plenty of power. You can get 400 to 450 wheel on your stock internals. If you go to the Coyote rods, Gen 2 or 3 or whatever. But if you go to the Coyote rods, then you can get 700 wheel. I'm not the drag racer. I'm not straight line. And that's just adding weight to the nose of the car that I don't want to do. So the horsepower thing, probably not for me. I might be interested in doing cams in this motor, like going up Tom Warren and figuring out what kind of cams would work well, knowing that the car is going to be like above, 3,500 most of the time. I don't know if that is worth it. Like if I'm having to do the timing chains, I'll probably go ahead and do cams because you're tore down half the way to do it anyway. So, but the car's only got 110,000 miles and it probably doesn't need timing chains for another 30 or 40,000 miles. What would you do with this car? Even if you'd go complete different direction with it and go all out drag racer or whatever, I'm curious. Let me know. Thanks for watching. Check out hats. These are the Richardson 632 and they're stretchy. Let me do it right here. It stretches. It's amazing. I freaking love these hats. I've got this one on 3 right now. Here, I'm going to put it on the 4. So now it's clicked in 4. On a normal snapback hat, that wouldn't fit anymore. Bam. It's still great. It's just a little bit more snug. Super stretchy, has room still. Could I even go to 5? I don't know. Let's see. I've never done it. It still fits. It's just more snug. This would actually probably give me a headache after a bit. It's kind of tight. But yeah, so this hat has 3 different places that I could wear it. Show me another snapback hat that's like that. That's awesome. It's like a flex fit hat, but with a snapback. And the snapback is super flexible. It's not like the ones that are like hard plastic. I hate those because it's like trucker caps. Whose head is the shape to fit a trucker cap? Mine sure isn't. Maybe someone's head fits those things and they have an oddly shaped head. I don't know. But check out the hats. You know, support the channel if you want to. I'll be honest with you, I make about $10 per hat that sells, and that helps me buy parts and move things along. So yeah, buy a hat if you want. That'd be great. Check out Corbeau. And also, hey, while I'm thinking about it, I have in my bio, and actually it's in every video description, so the link to the hats and Corbeau is in every video description, as well as a spring rate, Swaybar, IRS, all the different aftermarket drop spring rates, all the factory springs rates. I have a conversion chart that gives you the wheel rates and lots of stuff. It's in there. It's a Google Sheets document that I've got shared to everyone. You can't change anything, but I've got it shared. I've got some instructions about how to read it. Go check that out too. Yeah, you know, just look in there. That's just a free thing that I've made for everyone to use. It's 79 to 04 cars, right? That's what I know. That's what I can talk to. So it's tons of spring rates, tons of sway bars, gives you drop amounts by different springs and stuff. And then I've even got kind of the custom stuff I've done, like this B6 on Mach 1 rear springs and the 01 Cobra front springs with a half coil cut in the front. If I haven't added the drop amounts for this car, I will do it because I've got that written down. Check that stuff out. It's just a helpful resource for anyone that wants to use it. Guys, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.